So there I was on Instagram, and I was just scrolling away, and up pops this app, £25. I can do super slow motion for you. A bit like this, really. And I thought to myself, I'm sure I can do that in Premiere Pro. And then I thought to myself, well, maybe I should do a tutorial on how to do that in Premiere Pro, and then people don't have to spend £25 on an app that can do it for you, but you could do your own thing. So I thought, let's do that. So without further ado, let's dive into Premiere Pro and let's show you how to do it. So we're in Premiere Pro and we've got all our assets in place. What we've got to do now is get this effect going. So first things first, let's get our clip dragged into the timeline and put in position. And so here we are. So what have we got? So I've chosen this lovely young lady. She's doing a bit of ballet, as we can see. Off we go. Now I wish I could get on my tiptoes like that and swing around, but as elegantly as she does. But I'm afraid that's just not going to happen with me. So what we want to do is we want to slow this down, and we want to change the speed, but we also want to end on a still frame. So how are we going to do that? Right, so first things first, we need to figure out where we're going to start this clip from, and then where we're going to finish it. Now I do quite like this jump, this whatever kick thing, whatever it is, where she's on her tippy toes, and I think it'd look pretty cool if it ended where a toe just goes here, where this sort of plaster's come off the wall, where this white box is painted on. I think if we ended it there, that'd be pretty cool, because that seems like just at the top of the apex of what she's doing. And I think we're looking for a natural start point. So is that going to be back here, or am I going to be? I think probably a natural start point is for us for this clip would be right where she puts takes her foot onto her both tiptoes. So that would be there. So this is where we're going to start it, and then we're going to finish it with a foot somewhere up here. So first thing we need to do is we need to slow it down. So how do we do that? Right, well, we're going to click on the clip, right click on it, go to show clip keyframes, then to time remapping and click speed. It's going to change the clip a little bit. You can see a little white line above it, and you're going to still see your handlebar in the middle there to be able to do stuff with. Now we already know this is where we're going to start it from, and our playhead is actually exactly where we want to be. So we can go over to the toolbar and click the pen tool, or we can just hit P on the keyboard and we can just drop a frame right onto that playhead, like so. And effectively that's where we need to be. So we know now we've got a keyframe there, right where we're going to start this effect off from. So we're now going to scrub across to where we think it should finish, and I'm going to come back a couple of frames, and I think probably there is a good place to do it too. Now as you can see from this this keyframe that we've put in place, there's a little sort of dotted line down the middle of it. That denotes that we can split this in half. And as you see, when I hover over it, we've basically got a little arrow with a black arrow pointing left and right. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab it and we're going to drag it to the right hand side, and then we're going to let it go over the playhead. So we've now got, if I scrub this forward a little bit, we've now got two halves of that split, and it's slightly greyed out with a little handlebar in the middle. And the handlebar is basically so you can smooth out the transition, you can ramp that speed as we speed things up and down. So I'm going to hit V on the keyboard, and that's going to take me back to the selection tool. You can go up to the toolbar and do it there if you want to. And effectively, if I move these handlebars up and down on either side, it will alter the speed either side of this and create a ramp either up or down. And from there, these little handles here, we can change how smooth that ramp is, whether it's a straight ramp down or whether it's got a nice S-curve to it. We're going to use a straight ramp down in this instance. So let's get our thing back on the place where we want it to be. And I'm going to grab this and I'm just going to drag it down. And as you can see, it's putting that ramp in. And you can also see the figures are going down. So we've got 70%, so we're at 60% speed, then 50, then 40, and we're going to go all the way down to 1% speed. And as I let go, you can see that the clip is absolutely massive now. And this bar has moved from here to here. So we've added a bucket full of time to this particular clip. So we're going to just scoot in a little bit further so we can see a little bit further, because we're working with this section here now, and we want to be at the end of this item here, this keyframe. I'm going to go forward a couple of frames, so we're outside it by a couple of frames. And at that point, I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to add a frame hold, which is going to cut it. Then I'm going to right click again and I'm going to go to opacity. And the reason for that is it's just so that you can see that these two are different things. One's a video now and one is now just a still image. So if I come up here like this and I go along it, scrub along it, nothing happens basically, because it's basically just a still image. And we actually don't need all this still image anymore. We only need a little bit of it, because nobody wants to watch a still image for 10 minutes, do they? So let's put our playhead in an area where we can zoom in a bit more, so we can go back to being zoomed in. Okay, and we'll just scrub down and we're looking to see how long this is going to be, and I reckon we want it to be around about the sort of 5-second mark maybe. So we've got 5 seconds of still image and we've got a little bit of a ramp coming down to it, and the ramp comes down to 0 basically, so it's down to 1% of the speed. So let's go back and then we can see what we're talking about. So as you can see, it flattens out just before the still image comes in, just after, sorry, the still image comes in, and basically the still image will then just carry on as it were before. So if we just if I just zoom out a little bit and we go to the front of the playhead, we can see the girl doing it, and we can see how it's a little bit, if you watch her feet, it's just a little bit jerky. Now you can do this technique on any frame rate, so you could have a 24 frames a second clip and you could slow it down in this way, and you will get varying degrees of success with it, and it does take a little bit of tinkering and a little bit of fiddling around in some cases, because the more movement you've got around the outside of the subject you're trying to slow down, the more chance you get of Premiere Pro causing a tear in the timeline, and effectively you'll see bits of footage missing and so on and so forth, and some of it's noticeable, some of it isn't, but it all depends on how much movement you've got going on around the outside, and the lower the frame rate, so the closer to 24 frames a second you get, the less movement around the outside you want. So it's alright for your subject to be moving, and it's alright for the camera to be moving, but if you've got lots of people wandering around or things happening in the background, you may find that as they pass across each other there's some slight tearing here and there, and you'll need to tweak it accordingly, obviously. But what we can do is we can change that so that it's not as blocky and not as sort of jerky as it is at the minute. And the way we do that is we right click on it, and then we go to time interpolation, and then we'd select optical flow, and you'll see that optical flow has now made everything go red because it now needs to render everything. So what we'll do is we'll render the whole timeline in one go. This of course will depend, the time this takes of course will depend on how powerful your computer is. This is a fairly powerful machine, so it's rendered it pretty quickly, and basically what it does is it tries to predict what's going to happen in the frames between where you've extended it out, because you've added frames in to make it longer and slower. It also adds a little bit of motion blur and other magical things that Adobe have done to make it work. But it's essentially what you get is the following. So we've got nice, slow, and it ramps down to even slower, and then a smooth stop, and then she moves into a still image. And from there, when we click on the still image, we can go up to effects. We can then move back to the beginning and go say motion, scale and rotation maybe, and then we can shift across to here, back one frame, and put some of that in there, and we'll say maybe 110 like so, and then maybe say 2, so we'll bend it a little bit as well. And then if we move those forward slightly so she stays where she is, and then we right click and ease those out, and we ease these in, then essentially what we end up with is the following. So we've got a little bit of motion, and she just, the still image is also moving, but it's a still, and it's very, very, very smooth. And of course you can change that at will, so we can just sort of make that a little bit further away, so it's over here somewhere now. And let's bring this in and play it again. Let's do that. And it starts to move in. So let's render it again just to make sure everything's okay. Here we go. And nice smooth stop, and then the motion starts. And that's basically all the effects done. You can just tinker with it to your heart's content now. So it really is that simple. You've got all the skills, and you've got all the software, and you've got the time, and you don't really need to be paying £25, £30, £40 for an app to be able to do that for you, and you get more creative control over the thing that you're doing if you're doing it yourself, and you're putting your own spin on it. And I think you also learn and you get practiced by doing these things yourself, rather than just relying on an app to just give you bog standard what some developer wanted to give you. So with that, hope you do find it useful, hope you put it to some use, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!